Some families don't inherit wealth. They inherit shadows and demons. They said Violet was lucky to marry into the Adesoy family, the richest in city. But behind their golden gates, something strange was happening. And 2 days after wedding, when the laughter faded and the lights went out, Violet learned that some families don't inherit wealth alone. Sometimes they inherit secrets. Please watch to the end, like and subscribe, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. When Violet married Derek Adesoy, the whole town said she was blessed. The Adesoyes were one of the wealthiest families in town. They owned lots of businesses, vast farmlands, factories, and a mansion that stood at the heart of the town like a small palace. The wedding had been the talk of the year. In attendance were rich politicians, popular celebrities, and so many important people. It was a luxurious and fashionable ceremony with gold lace, fancy cars, and guests who came from cities she had only ever heard of on TV. Violet, a soft-spoken schoolteacher, had never dreamed of such a life. She was the daughter of a tailor and a palm wine tapper. When Derek came into her school one day to donate new desks and books, she hadn't even realized who he was until the headmistress whispered, "That's Mr. Adesoy's only son." He was charming, gentle, and spoke with kindness that felt rare. For months, he visited the school, sometimes bringing lunch for the teachers, sometimes just to see her. And when he asked for her hand in marriage, her parents nearly cried with joy. Her friends were happy, and finally she thought something good was happening in her life. She thought she had found love. She thought she has met her own person, but this love, she would later learn, can be dressed in shadows. Their wedding night in the Adesoy mansion was quiet. After the noise and dancing of the day, Violet found herself standing before the tall mahogany mirror in her new room, a room so large that her footsteps echoed. Derek held her hand and smiled. "Welcome home, my wife." She smiled back shyly, but even then, she noticed something strange, a faint humming sound coming from the walls, like a deep chant almost hidden. When she asked about it, Derek simply said, "The house is old. The pipes make funny noises." She let it go. The first day was peaceful. The Adesoy's home ran like a kingdom, with maids cleaning from dawn till dusk, cooks preparing dishes she could barely pronounce. Mr. Adesoy, Derek's father, was a large, commanding man who wore tailored suits even at home. His eyes were sharp, his smile brief. His wife, Mrs. Adesoy, was soft-spoken but distant, always clutching a beaded bracelet that never left her wrist. Violet felt at home. She was happy. That first day, she spoke to her mother-in-law, Mrs. Adesoy. They talked for hours, and by the end of the conversation, she had been told numerous times to avoid the west wing of the mansion. Never enter the west wing of the mansion after sunset. When she asked why, they only said, "It's nothing really, even the cooks are not allowed there." "We are making some renovations," Mrs. Adesoy said. On the second day of her marriage, Violet woke up to find Derek missing from their bed. The time was 2:13 a.m. The humming sound was louder than ever, like voices beneath the ground. Curiosity, mixed with unease, pulled her out of bed. She stood up and followed the sound. It led her down the hall toward the west wing. The corridor was dim, lit only by flickering lights. As she stepped closer, she saw a faint light glowing beneath a heavy door. Her heart pounded. She pressed her ear against it. The humming became clearer. It was chanting, many voices. She turned the knob gently. It opened. Inside was a large room filled with symbols drawn in white chalk across the floor. In the center, a circle of men stood around someone, lying on a mat. She gasped softly. It was Derek. Her husband was lying motionless, his eyes closed, while Mr. Adesoy stood over him with a calabash filled with dark liquid. Mrs. Adesoy and others chanted softly, their bracelets glowing faintly under the candlelight. Violet froze. Mr. Adesoy spoke, his voice deep and commanding. For the bloodline to remain unbroken, the spirit of the first son must be renewed. May the guardian accept the offering. The others repeated in unison, "May the guardian accept." Derek's body twitched. Violet almost screamed, but covered her mouth. Mr. Adesoy dipped a leaf into the calabash and drew symbols on Derek's chest. Then, with a single slice of a small blade, he cut his palm. The liquid from the calabash was poured into the wound, and the chanting grew louder. Violet's vision blurred. She stumbled back, knocking against the doorframe. The chanting stopped instantly. Heads turned. Mr. Adesoyes' eyes met hers, cold, sharp, ancient. "Who's there?" he barked. She turned and ran. Her bare feet slapped against the tiled floor as she sprinted through the mansion. Behind her, she heard footsteps, shouts, and the sound of bracelets clinking. "Stop her," someone yelled. Violet ran into her room, grabbed her phone and wrapper, and dashed through the back door. The night was cold, the moon bright. She didn't stop running until she reached the main road. At dawn, she was miles away, sitting by the bus park with trembling hands. Her phone buzzed with calls, Derek, unknown numbers, even her mother. She didn't answer. By evening, a message came through. "Derek, Violet, please. Don't be afraid. It's not what you think." She almost laughed through her tears. Not what she thought. She had seen her husband lying in a circle of chants, blood, and rituals. What else could it be? 3 days later, she was hiding in her friend's apartment in mainland. She couldn't eat or sleep. Every sound made her jump. When her mother finally reached her, Violet told her everything. Her mother listened quietly, then sighed deeply. "Violet, there are families whose wealth has a cost. I warned your father before the wedding. The Adesoyes' riches are not ordinary." Tears filled Violet's eyes. "So you knew?" Her mother nodded sadly. "Your father didn't believe me. He said, 'At least our daughter will never suffer.' But child, not all suffering comes in the form of poverty." That night, Violet got another message from Derek. "I had to do it. It's part of our family's covenant. My life depends on it. I never wanted you to see. Please forgive me. Come home. I'll protect you." She stared at the screen for a long time. Then she deleted the message. The next morning, she bought a bus ticket to Port Harcourt City and never looked back. Years later, Violet became a counselor for young women, teaching them not to rush into marriages blinded by wealth or appearances. Sometimes she thought of Derek and wondered what had become of him. Once, she read in the newspaper that Mr. Adesoye had died suddenly. A few months later, the Adesoye mansion reportedly burned down in a mysterious fire. The cause was unknown. She closed the paper quietly, whispered a prayer. In her heart, she knew the truth. Some families don't inherit wealth. They inherit shadows and demons. And she had escaped hers just in time.